Smooth 98.1 here. We are gone past 6:30, and this is Business Express on Smooth Breakfast. I'm Sope Martins.
I'm Zibby.
We are streaming live up on youtube.com/smooth 981 FM Lagos. Joining us for the next 15 minutes, of course, we have got Rotus. Good morning, Rotus.
Good morning, Sope. Good morning, Zibby. Good morning to all our listeners, viewers out there. Good to be with you all. And welcome back to work, everybody.
Yes. You're back with the rest of us. Essential services have become all services now. Love it. All right. So we've got quite a bit to get through for the next 15 minutes, and we'd love you to join this conversation with all its twists and turns. So make sure you send your WhatsApp messages into 0809 440 981. You already know what to do up on the YouTube live stream. Leave that comment. Let us know what you think, and tweet. We are at Smooth 981 FM. Rotus is at Rotankwood. Okay, let's get into this. So, in every crisis, there's an opportunity, Rotus. Who's got the opportunity in the aviation crisis?
Yeah, it's the downstream sector, where some of the players in the downstream sector have been raking in the dough from the spike in aviation fuel. I think Business Day looked at the results of aviation fuel profits from some of the players in the sector. I think Total, MRS, and some of these other players that sell aviation fuel to the airlines. And they've been making some really, they've been raking in the moolah, as they say. So basically, I think who are the players there that they mentioned now? MRS, Total Nigeria PLC, MRS Oil, combined aviation fuel increase. That's revenue increase 72% to 28.6 billion naira in the first half of the year. It was 16 billion prior. So, I mean, yeah, as you said, in every, somebody had to sell them, the airlines, the fuel, right? So I think they decided to take a look and see who exactly was selling this, selling the fuel and how much they were making. And so it's been good for them, I guess. And you can imagine if they didn't have to import that fuel, that is, if the oil marketers didn't have to import it from overseas, how much they would have saved in transportation costs, and also how much we would save in the foreign exchange if we refined our fuel here at home. And then, it would still be high because it's still a deregulated product, and there's no subsidy on it. So those numbers will still be high. But it just, when you think about how much Nigeria would save as a nation in terms of how much we spend on foreign exchange bringing in this product, the refineries would definitely come to the aid of the nation. But from a purely capitalist perspective, these downstream companies, they've been raking it in, and it's why they also want PMS. Petrol they want the subsidy to be removed, because if you take off the subsidy, there will be no cap as to how much profits they can make from selling fuel to you and I and everybody else that wants to buy fuel at the pump. So,
no question though, Rotus, if we started seeing everything happening locally as opposed to us having to source things from outside, right? Wouldn't there be some sort of regulation that comes into play? Look at the telecoms industry and the different operators who are like, we want to raise prices, but then NCC says, no, you can't.
Right.
Wouldn't we get something like that?
Yeah, I mean, there is this, the government feels, and you can call it socialist if you want, but it feels that it has to step in and it has to protect consumers from what they believe is price gouging if the markets took off without a way to rein them in. Now, the players in the sector, as you've rightly pointed out with respect to the telecommunications players, they will tell you that, no, you shouldn't be capping profits because we are job providers. We are paying people's salaries. We are putting food on the table from a number of our workers. So if you limit the amount of profits that we can make, then you are limiting our ability to be able to pass on those profits to our employers and also our shareholders as well. If you own stocks in any of these downstream sector players, then when it's time to declare profits and share dividends and so on and so forth, that's also being limited. But look, at the end of the day, there is an aviation crisis. There are still ticket prices have more than doubled. Frequency of flights have come down. There are still issues with flights being delayed, and that's another issue. We still don't get accurate compensation for that. If you fly airlines in other climes, if your flight is delayed, you get a free meal or a partial refund on your ticket, and so on and so forth.
A hotel stay.
Exactly. Was that a deliberate rhyme? That was a good rhyme. So there's there's all that, and we really need to. We have a federal competition authority or whatever that needs to step in here and make sure that happens. But anyway, by and large, there is still a lot of pain in the aviation sector. I think they're still calling on government to try to help them out. The government doesn't really have much money, but as you said, there are people profiting from this, and it's the business they are in. Bless their hearts. They're just. If there was nobody to sell the fuel, then where would the aviation players get the fuel from? So somebody had to make money. Somebody had to make some money.
I just wonder what happens if we start seeing airlines going out of business because they're like, can't afford it. What happens?
Well, then you're looking at anytime a business cannot operate any further, there's a loss of jobs. So, and with where unemployment is right now, which by the way is 2 years old, our unemployment data is 2 years old.
Why are we not getting new data? Are the figures too horrifying to reveal? What is happening?
So I feel, I don't like to get into all these conspiracy theories, but they'll tell you there's no money. So the Bureau of Statistics has a lot of its work is funded with assistance from the World Bank and all these other multilateral agencies. So, but they're supposed to be an arm of government, and they're supposed to be funded by government. But I think the official word is that there's no money. And so, but you have to know how many people are out of work, right? Since Q4 2020, we have not been giving out unemployment data. And I'm sure those numbers, the last figures was 33%. It has to have gone up at this point. It's got to be higher, so we need to get this. But anyway, as far as the business is closing down,
how much has it gone up? Not whether or not
it's anyone's guess. It was 33% in Q4. It could be 35, it could be 38, it could be 40, it could be higher than that. Youth unemployment definitely higher than the figures that we've been getting. I think that was 40 something, could be higher than that. So it's anyone's guess
for a country that's demographically skewed youth,
which is not it's pretty bad because Nigeria is a young country. Majority of the citizenry are youth, which is very interesting, right? When you kind of see the age of the candidates that are running for president. But anyway, that's something that is not particularly good for the youth of this nation, that their unemployment numbers are so high. It's why so many want to leave the country to go and seek out opportunities elsewhere, because they just don't see any opportunities around the country right now.
Right, we've got a message from Dami on WhatsApp, and it says, it'll be nice to have a PMS industry with NNPC mega stations indicating their prices, while all others can charge as much as they want. Rationally, they would not charge too far from the NNPC prices. That's better than this subsidy.
It's a good idea. So that would try, at least NNPC would be competing. Now, the other players would complain and say, well, you shouldn't have an NNPC, a state player that is trying to impede on profits. But at least it would be slight, I agree, it would be better than just capping prices for, across the country and not allowing players sell as much as they want to.
All right, Tagbenga says, is it only about making profits for players in the downstream sector? We cannot allow players to rip us off. We're not getting data for unemployment because it's bad, and the counters, and that counters the claim of government on provision of jobs.
We need to put pressure on our authorities to give us those numbers. I've been shouting, but maybe I haven't been shouting loud enough. So Benga, I am with you on that. Definitely with you on that.
We'll take this one from Ogeno Chuko, who says, due to the corruption in this oil sector, government should remove subsidy to encourage investment, which will create employment opportunities.
It's a good point. That's a good point. That is a very good point. A lot of people feel that it's a scam as far as the subsidy figures are being banded out. Because speaking of data, we still don't officially know how much fuel we consume in this country. It's quite shocking. Or we don't know how many we are. We don't know. We don't know so much about our own data. So it's a real shame.
Oh, we did have some figures come out. I'll look for them. And we've got this one in from EIA, who says, Rotus, I know that the act of controlling price is a socialist tendency. However, I think sometimes it's necessary, especially if you are unable to defend it before the regulator.
Yeah, so I mean, there can be tendencies where government can step in and say, hey, hold on a second, we need to rein in prices, things are getting out of hand. But
no cartel behavior, no trying to take advantage of consumers. That's why you have consumer protection agencies, right?
Exactly. But what we've seen for years has been this blanket cap on prices where, and it's in the electricity sector, it's in a number of other sectors where there's this blanket cap on prices that just does not allow players in that sector to maximize profit. So I agree, they should step in and try to help out if things get out of hand. But this is a difference. You know, look at where subsidy costs, what subsidy is costing us as a nation now. You pick your social cause, education, social welfare. All these trillions we're spending on it could have gone to those other causes and alleviated issues there as well. So that's where we are, unfortunately.
I'll just direct you to the Niger Delta.
How
much spending went into that. But
exactly, right?
Yeah. Jonah says, an already unpopular government cannot fund a report that will further embarrass it. So we're not likely to get any unemployment data until the next government comes in.
And which is really sad, because that deters investments. I mean, imagine not knowing something. If you don't have knowledge of an area, then how do you fix it? How can you provide jobs when you don't know how many people are out of work? So politics dominating economics and dominating development, dominating proper development. It is pretty sad. And yeah, this close to the election, I highly doubt we see those unemployment figures. I wish the other candidates were making noise about it, but they don't seem to care either. So I don't know.
All right, let's take maybe we'll take this last message from D from Alausa before we end the show. And D says, please, are the figures for the downstream revenue or profits? If revenue, do you have the profit numbers? Asked.
Yeah, so revenue was about, I think it was a 72% in the 72% increase. That's Total and MRS, right? As far as profits is concerned, MRS, their profit was 120% year on year. I think that's the profit that I'm showing with respect to what they earned. Yeah, 100. That's what MRS, 127% year on year. Total was 67% profits that they made year on year in the first half of the year. So yeah. Healthy numbers for those players. So at least those two.
Very healthy, robust.
Yeah,
blooming.
Very robust.
All right, Rotus, that's all we've got time for today. But people keep watching out for those figures. And who knows, sooner or later, we will get the unemployment rates in the country and see where we go from there. You can connect with Rotus up on Twitter. He is at Rotankot. Go find him, go ask him your questions and make your observations to him as well. And also come back tomorrow at 6:30 to find him right here on Business Express here on